on a traditional folder, and that is going to be this beautiful case trapper. Now, as far as my collection goes, I do not have a ton of traditional slip joint folders, but of the ones I do have, this is by far my favorite. So again, if you are unfamiliar with what a trapper knife is, it is a old style, classic designed pocket knife. So it's one of the earlier renditions of what pocket knives used to be. So very different from our more modern folders that have thumb studs and locks and crazy steels and handle materials and titanium, pocket clips. This does not have that. So very straightforward, very simple. Typically in their earlier designs, made with some type of natural material as an inlay on the knife, so typically bone or wood was very common. But nonetheless, this case trapper is going to be comprised of some of those traditional materials. So with the actual noticeable inlay on this knife, we have this bone here. And this particular design of the bone is going to be a jigged pattern, and this particular color scheme is going to be a burnt marshmallow type jigged bone. So toasted marshmallow, burnt marshmallow, jigged bone. So it does kind of look like it has been toasted a little bit, and it gives it a very beautiful look. So again, if we look at the top and bottom bolsters, these are going to be nice nickel silver bolsters. So personally, these are going to not patina as much as brass or copper. Okay, so then on the inside, so separating the bone inlays and then the actual backs of the slip joint itself, so the actual back spring is actually going to be brass inlays separating those. So very nice in terms of those. And again, you get two blades on this knife. So you get a standard, very mild clip point or even drop point blade style there. A little bit of belly on that kind of up swoop there. Pretty standard blade there, nothing too special. Going to be very decent for slicing due to a thin profile. And again, even though this is not a locking knife, so again, there's no liner lock, there's no back lock on this or anything. So again, this back spring here is the only thing keeping this in place. So again, that's holding there. And again, this has very good retention in the open position. So again, I can put light pressure on this, and again, it's not snapping back down on my fingers, okay? But again, you wouldn't want to, be doing a lot of prying or hard piercing into materials with this knife anyway. For the second blade, we kind of get this, what they call a spay blade. So the tip up here kind of looks like a spay, and this is going to have a very drastic belly at the tip here, and then kind of a reverse Tonto-ish look at the edge there. So not really meant for piercing, but again, in its original design, this was kind of meant as a way to help skin animals without accidentally over piercing into the hide of the animal. So again, helping to make sure that you don't accidentally get a bunch of holes in whatever it is that you're trying to skin. So again, Trapper for designed solely in the beginning kind of for trappers that are going to be doing a lot of skinning for furs. So it kind of had that design implement within it. So again, with traditional knives, kind of the direction and qualities that you look for are going to be a little different than a traditional, than a modern type folder. Okay, so with Case, they do a decent job with their quality control. And I would say this one in particular, this Case Trapper that I got, is pretty decent. There are a few minor kind of small gripes or flaws within the quality control of how the knife turned out. So again, looking at the spine of the knife, we look for gaps within the different layers of the materials. So is there a gap between the bone and the brass, between the brass and the back springs? And for the most part, this one is done pretty well. Very minor kind of gaps within that. And again, this is nothing attributing to the function of the blade or anything like that. It's more the aesthetic appeal and kind of the fit and finish, the quality. And again, these Case knives and any type of traditional knives typically are not that cheap, considering what you get. I mean, you're not getting anything super crazy, especially the blade steel. I believe this is just a proprietary stainless steel, so they don't even have any particular type of blade steel. It's just part of Case's proprietary stainless steel, pretty much a surgical blade type steel. So nothing crazy. So you're not getting a crazy steel or anything like that. And again, nickel, silver, and brass really aren't super high quality, super expensive materials. So again, with getting a knife like this, you definitely want it to be having good fit and finish. Again, for the most part, the fit and finish on this knife is pretty decent. There is a little bit, at least with the one that I have here, there is a little bit of kind of roughness between the bone inlay here and the back bolster. So again, this part is not evenly flush. So this back bolster is kind of sticking up a little bit, which if you are using, you can actually kind of feel that. So that's one issue I have. It's kind of hard to see it on the camera, but it does kind of stick up there and it's kind of sharp. So again, not a huge deal, but definitely when you spend 80 or so bucks on a knife like this, you want it to at least have a good fit and finish. Also with traditional knives, got to talk about walk and talk. So how does the opening and the lockout, again, not a locking knife, but how does the snap of the spring on the back of the blade feel, and the strength of it? So again, this has no secondary stop, so it is from open till close. So there is no secondary stop at this point. I would say this is a pretty decent walk and talk. Not the strongest, and again, stronger doesn't equal better. Again, it's all preference based, but me personally, I don't want to have to fight to pull the blade out and then have difficulty getting it out. But I also don't want it to be extremely loose or flimsy to where I feel like the blade can just pop out and there's nothing really keeping that blade at least retained out there. So this is kind of somewhere in the middle, and I think Case did a good job kind of hitting this one on the mark with that kind of spring retention to keep the blade kind of out there really good and not feeling like this is wiggling around. So it definitely feels like a solid knife for sure. And again, with use of this knife, it really, for me, is mostly pocket jewelry. I'm not using this for a lot of hard tasks. Again, I kind of carry this usually as a secondary knife, just to kind of have essentially pocket jewelry on me for this one. I don't really use this or bead on it or anything. Again, this knife is kind of special to me in terms of a collection type piece, but it is capable. So I have used it on very basic tasks, again, for what you should use a slip joint for. So again, like cutting tasks, cutting thread, cutting tape, cutting boxes, it's going to be fine for all of those. And again, because this steel is not going to be crazy in edge retention, it's not going to hold an edge for a really long time, you do get a lot of cutting edge. So this cutting edge here is about 3.25 inch long blade, and you get 2 of them. So again, if one dulls out, you can use the other one to have a secondary blade. So you can always use this one while that one's still sharp. This one dulls out, use the other one, come back, resharpen this one. So it is kind of versatile in that sense if you're just using it for everyday carry. And again, for what you would be using this for, the lower edge retention is not going to be really a big concern. And because of that, it does have easy sharpenability. So I have sharpened this a few times, and it takes an edge very quickly. You do not need to really beat the crap out of in terms of sharpening the edge on really coarse stones. It takes an edge very easily on a pretty fine stone grit or diamond stone. So it's pretty decent in that sense. So again, for me, good kind of light user and just kind of good talking piece. It is, in my opinion, good everyday carry, but in terms of practicality compared to other knives, like my Benchmade 940, it just kind of misses the practicality part. But in terms of its aesthetics and looks, and kind of that old traditional style type knife, it is just beautiful. It's stunning. It definitely looks like a piece of art. And I think there is something to say about older style knives that are still appealing today. Otherwise, they wouldn't be selling. I think there is something about kind of the nostalgia piece and kind of the origins of where folding knives have come from. A lot of people's fathers or grandfathers have had a traditional type folder. It's obviously advertised in movies and shows and entertainment within our society and culture as a whole. But again, great knife, very, very well designed, pretty decent. Again, it's going to vary depending on quality control and fit and finish in terms of the perfectness per se is going to kind of vary depending on whether you're lucky or not to get one that has good quality control or not. So that's going to vary. But I would say that Case is a very decent brand, and I do love their knives. So again, great knife. I really enjoy it. I highly recommend it. Definitely worth adding to your collection, at least for show or even use. So holds up to the use, but also very nice, just collectible knife as well. So again, that's the knife for today. If you have any other suggestions or other videos you would like to see regarding more traditional knives, please let me know. I do have a few others that I can show as well. So thank you for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe. Rocky Mountain EDC signing out.